You can carefully drop it out. And there we go, one Mountaineer drive shaft. There we go. That got it. Alright, here's our drive shaft. Alright. Alright, well, some good news. We don't have any output shaft problems or input shaft problems. We had a nice dry area in here, which is excellent.
Okay, so once you get the Borg Warner 4410 transfer case removed, go ahead and set it up on a workbench. You're going to want a good, clean area to work. We laid down some paper towels and clean, lint-free shop rags. This will keep the dirt out as we open the case and give us a platform to place the parts on as we remove them. The transfer case will not sit level, so we used a plastic square that we had and it kind of acted as a wedge and went in one edge to allow it to sit stable and level on the table. Now you can go ahead and unbolt the case bolts. Now these are Torx Plus 40 size bits. A regular Torx 40 will not fit very well and could cause them to strip, so you really want to use a Torx Plus 40 socket. One of the bolts will have the transfer case ID tag on it, and this has the transfer case model number and serial number. Don't forget to put that back in the same place later on.
Alright, to split the case halves, you basically have these ears on the aluminum case, and you can kind of come in with a crowbar and get enough leverage and break the RTV seal just like that. Now, I'm hoping that this will just split apart. The service manual does call for removing the yoke, but I'm not rebuilding the entire transfer case. We're only replacing two parts inside. So I'm hoping that I can go ahead and then just pull this up and split it. Just like that. And here's the inside to the cover, and as you can see, we didn't have to remove our flange piece here, which is good, so we can go ahead and leave that. Put this piece over here. Okay, so now that we have this open, we can see the two parts that we're going to be replacing. Our chain, which these can stretch over time, and since we're going to be pulling it out, I'd like to go ahead and do it. And also, this is our viscous coupling right here. Alright, so first, a thrust washer. We'll take our planetary gear set. Okay, and then we'll slide this out. And then we'll try to keep track of where our chain is. There's 3 links that have a different color, and as we put it back in, we'll try to keep a track of where those are. So move straight up, put that right over here, and then our viscous coupling should slide right out. We have our 2 viscous couplings here, so this is our original that we pulled out, just so you can see it. And this is a cast piece, and from what I understand, these aren't cooling fins, these are actually structural fins. So we ended up going with this as a replacement viscous coupling. One of the main places to source these is stecouplers.com, and they do sell a remanufactured original. but they also manufacture their own piece here, which is listed to be stronger and better, and it comes out a little bit more expensive than the rebuilt unit, but you know, if you're taking it down to this level, I've made the decision to go ahead and put this in. So this is the part we're going to go ahead and swap in. As you can see, it's got a large snap ring on the back. Plenty of caution warnings come with it about not taking that off, and you also get a lot of warnings about your tires. If you remember our video where we talked about the tire size difference front to rear, well, they certainly remind us of that in here and list, as we mentioned, no more than 3/16 inch circumference difference. More than that will damage this coupler and void the warranty. So of course we've got 4 brand new tires going on of the same make and model, so we should be just fine. And we'll go ahead and slide the new viscous coupling in. Oh, before I do that, I'll tell you what. We'll come off the tripod, show some of the internal components here. Here's some of the bearings on the input and output shafts. And then of course we have the sun gear here that goes around the planetary gear set we took out, and some more bearings. So we're not replacing the bearings in this. You can buy kits to do that, but you know, these are in pretty good shape. It didn't have any bearing noise or drivability issues related to that, so we're not going to worry about that this time around. In the event we do have to, you can get a rebuild kit for this transfer case, and you can reuse your viscous coupling. So if later down the road we decide we have to rebuild it, we're not really putting ourselves at a disadvantage by fixing the main problem right now. Here's our chain. We'll go ahead and swap that over next. Here's our replacement. So we'll go ahead and do that next. All right, so we'll go ahead and lay our chain out. Flip it over so it's on the right side. And then remember, we have the links that are colored a little bit differently. These are blue on this one, and we can kind of see them here. So we're going to want to line these up to be similar. And then there is a mark on this sprocket here. I'm going to go ahead and line it up just because I feel the need to do that. You know, if this were something like a timing set, you would certainly be lining up timing marks, but on here, I can't see too much of a reason why you need to line it up, but we're going to go ahead and do that anyway. Pull this one out, so this will basically be the link right past the first blue one. That. Cinch this around it. And then this one has a very small dimple mark there, which is probably hard to see on camera, but we can see it here. And we'll go ahead and try to keep that aligned as well. Okay, and there we go. So there's our new chain assembly set and ready to go. Here's our old one. And for our new viscous coupling, we're just putting a little bit of ATF on the splines. This transfer case uses ATF as its fluid. It uses Mercon 5, Mercon V. So that's what we're using. I'm just going to slide this piece on. Okay, there we go. And we'll use a clean rag just to keep things as clean as we can. Slide on our chain assembly. So we'll do our best to line up the sprocket on the viscous coupling as well as here, so we can slide this piece on. Make sure your thrust washer is already in. And you will have to do it this way because of the teeth in the middle. You can't slide this over. So that's the way you're going to want to do it. There we go. All right, now that's seated in. go ahead and replace the planetary gear set. There's the pane. Get all that lined up. There we go. And so of course your planetary gears are going to have to line up with that center sprocket, and you're also going to have to line up the one on the shaft there. So once you get that, you're all set. And don't forget your thrust washer. And that's it. And our chain still got a little bit of looseness to it, but it's definitely got a little more tension than our old one. So it's good that we did it. All right, with everything put back together, we went through and cleaned up our gasket surface as good as we could. Just came through with a razor blade, made sure we got all of the old material off, nice and smooth. For the sealant, we're going to use this RTV gasket maker for automatic transmissions. Went to do some checking. This seems to be the right application since this does use ATF, and this is a case half application. This is compatible with that setup. I debated using anaerobic sealant and also the ultra gray, but this was the one that came up first on the recommendation list, so we're going to give it a try. So we're going to need to lay a 3mm bead all around, and then the service manual just shows the bead following here. It doesn't show it circling around the bolt holes. We don't want to put too much on and have it leak into the case, so we're going to go ahead and lay that bead on. Alright, so we've got our bead of RTV on, and reading the instructions on the RTV, they say to go ahead and set the pieces together and finger tighten the bolts to give it a chance to squeeze out. Unlike the gear oil RTV that often has you kind of wait for about 15 minutes or so, this says to go ahead and assemble immediately. So we're going to do one final check, make sure that we've got everything assembled in our transfer case. This is it once we get it closed up. Alright, and here's our other case half. Alright, let's go ahead and get this reassembled over. Again, we've cleaned our gasket surface on this as well. Let's go ahead and drop this on. And there's some dowels that we'll need to line up. The goal is to just do this in one shot. To get our gears to mesh. All right, there we go, and two halves are spinning. I'll go ahead and get this down. We'll start to reassemble our bolts. We went ahead and left the one with the tag. I marked its position, so that way we'll put the tag back where it belongs. Again, we're not going to torque them down yet. The book says it's 18 foot-pounds, but the RTV says go ahead and just get them loosely tight, and then we'll do the final torque after an hour. And we are going to go in an alternating pattern across, but for now I'm just going to drop them all in now that I've got that one started. Get the threads started on them all, and then come around. The book does not reference using any thread locker on these, so we're not going to. It seems to call out when it's required, when either sealant or thread locker is required. Around. So we did this one just a little bit tight, so we'll go to the back and other corner and do this one. And then we'll sort of keep in the inside and work our way out. So we'll do this one. Okay, so pretty much just till they stop, and then we're not going to tighten them any further. Just enough to get it to seat, where the bolts stop, and then we'll do final torque after an hour. Now that it's been an hour, we can go ahead and do our final torque on these bolts. And the book calls for 18 foot-pounds. All right, that should be it. So we're going to go around and just double check that we got them all, and we're all set. All right, we're all done. And we're going to go ahead and get this reinstalled, and we're going to hold off on putting fluid in it. We're going to let it cure for 24 hours. We got other work we're doing anyway. We'll just have this on our list to go ahead and remember to put in the fluid. All right, so that wasn't too bad. That was rebuilding our transfer case. Not rebuilding the whole thing and pulling the bearings out, but honestly, after seeing how it was put together, it doesn't look like that would have been too complicated. There were a couple snap rings that you would have to deal with, and possibly pressing in a few bearings. From a seal perspective, the only seal we're going to use is the paper seal that goes around the flange that mounts the transmission. We have no other visible leaks. It's nice and dry, so this looks like it's in pretty good shape. Everything internally looked good. There wasn't an excess of metal shavings or anything weird. So I think with our new chain and our viscous coupling, this transfer case is going to be in pretty good shape.